Hello, audience member.
Guys, I'm a longtime fan of the show, and I have a question for you.
Okay.
Have you ever experienced any kind of discrimination? And I mean really anywhere along the spectrum of discrimination, just based on your being an atheist. And if you did, how did you react?
As an atheist...
Have you faced discrimination being British?
Yeah, a couple of times.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I work in a call center as my job, and 95 times out of 100, people are very nice in terms of like, oh, I could listen to you talk all day, right? But and I'm like, no, you can't. But some people are like, I can't understand a word you're saying. Why are you over here anyway? And I'm like, I live here. So, anyway, but the only discrimination I can think of that I've encountered, other than disability, which is just people trying to take the piss out of the fact I can't see very well, I actually was I've been on the receiving end of a little bit of sexism. Which was interesting.
Okay.
I used to work in a different organisation where I was taking calls from to do with pregnancy, and of course the knowledge I had and the information I was able to give.
See where this is going.
Was the same coming out of my mouth than a lady's mouth, but people would prefer to speak to a woman about these things.
Okay.
And there's just for their own comfort, their own preconceptions. Now, of course, understanding that. Yeah, I could understand why you'd probably want to do that.
Yeah,
and
makes sense to me.
Which is why I don't go like, oh, I have been a victim of sexism and have been profiled. No, it's kind of understandable. It's the kind of people who say, oh, it's racism against white people. It's like, in the most technical sense, but not really.
Yeah, yeah. But being an atheist, though, have you ever had?
I certainly have.
Yeah. What's your story then?
There's a lot of different stories from when I was in the U.S. Army. I think the most straightforward example was, for those of you that have never served, when you're in the military, most mornings during the work week, you have to get up and do a lot of physical exercise. It's called the PT period, physical training. And one of the units that I was in decided they were going to do a pancake breakfast. And it was during PT hours. You could choose to go to that, or you could go do PT. You could go for a run. You could go get pancakes, and it was a prayer breakfast. The unit chaplain.
Oh, so wait, so it's actual pancakes, because when you're talking about the U.S. military, I just assume that's a euphemism for like, oh, you're gonna get your face pounded in like a pancake or something.
I mean, I'm sure that has probably been used by someone as a euphemism, but that wasn't regular nomenclature when I was in.
Gotcha.
No, pancakes meant pancakes,
and
it was you got to have a nice little delectable breakfast, but you'd have to sit there and listen to the sergeant major of my battalion preach about how important faith was to being a leader and a soldier in the military, and then listen to the chaplain give a sermon. And so I was like, I raised my hand to volunteer to go to the prayer breakfast. Everyone knew I was an atheist. They were like, Sergeant Clodfelter. And I was like, what? Tell me I can't go. And they did let me go. But then afterwards, when I was like, I would like to have a secular breakfast where we just talk about leadership and skills and things like that. And I received no end of pushback. What organization am I a part of? I was part of the Military Atheist and Secular Humanist, but they pushed back on that, wouldn't validate it, wouldn't approve my request to have a secular breakfast.
That's kind of funny, because aren't you like the whole, like, if you're a Christian, aren't you trying to preach to the unbeliever? Like, don't they want you there? Isn't that,
Yeah, they didn't deny me going to the breakfast rather than going for a very long run. But it was my attempt to try to have one that was non-religious that got absolutely shut down.
Yeah.
Just my period of, I was part of the Military Atheist and Secular Humanists at Fort Drum, and then later at Fort Campbell in Kentucky. And the number of times we would get approval for something by one chaplain or by one organization, and then later they'd be like, well, atheists aren't real, you don't exist, and would just deny our letter, our paperwork, or it got lost. Was very regular, and the number of times we were forced to engage in prayer was very constant, despite us protesting and saying this isn't a lawful order.
Yeah, that's not great. I don't know. Again, it's just, you'd think when somebody knows you're an atheist, it's like, oh, I should invite them to the Christian thing. I should make them feel welcome.
And they
'cause,
would,
like,
but they wouldn't let us do it.
But you
back.
can't do your own thing, right? No.
Like, you can't proselytize to soldiers that have to be there.
Right.
You can't.
I'm understanding now I've been spectacularly lucky in that I've never not been honest about being an atheist, but I came here and was married to someone who didn't mind it at all and it was not a problem. And the only friction we had with that was that she was a Wiccan, and I respected like what she wanted to do with that and her superstitions, and didn't push back on it. But the organisation I work for is completely and utterly accepting of all the different dispositions and are very much encouraging of my stance as an atheist. And then I fell in with these chumps.
Yeah.
Of course, they're not going to discriminate against me because I'm an atheist. How about yourself, then?
I will say, thank goodness I'm married now, because when I was on Tinder,
Oh boy, here we go.
I'm just saying, oh, what are your hobbies? Well, I like to do podcasting. Oh, what is your podcast about? Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Conspiracies,
What?
Dad. You answer with conspiracies.
It's called Truth Wanted, but it's not like Alex Jones. That's what that was the starter thing. Because it's like, no, it's just it's supposed to sound like it, but it's not. Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I think it's just kind of awkward and weird for most people, especially who haven't. Some people just don't even know what an atheist is.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Right, that's pretty common. But also, like, I don't feel comfortable talking about it most of the time with coworkers or people I'm not super familiar with, because it's just it invites a weird, unnecessary tension.
Yeah, and like
sometimes.
I've had people even in like the activist space that I've worked in for a long time, when they find out I'm an atheist, they don't stop working with me, but
Right.
it changes their behavior. Maybe they were more friendly,
But
they
there's
become
a
more cordial.
because atheists have a stereotype, whether
yeah.
we like it or not, right? And
We're kind of fulfilling it a little bit here. We have a look.
sure, there is that, but also there's the attitude, like there's a belligerence that's kind of associated with it, right? There's a sort of lack of sort of respect for other people that atheists seem to have. I think of like the 2008 r/atheist tipping fedora kind of
condescension
memes.
of like, I'm so smart and all you religious people are stupid.
And I'm not saying that's not been unearned, but I've tried very hard for a very long time to kind of show that, hey, people come to this conclusion from all walks of life. For me, like, I saw atheism as a liberation.
Yeah.
Really, I don't have to be under these rules and hierarchies that Christianity sort of brings, and I think ultimately oppresses people, and that's why I do what I do. But of course, you talk to people that don't feel that way, you're just kind of some weirdo.
And I think that the construing of atheism with like people say, you don't believe in God, but you don't know that God exists. Well, why aren't you agnostic?
The whole knowledge thing.
Knowledge and
That's a whole
belief thing.
Yeah.
And we try and push back on that because a lot of people assume that atheism means that you're saying that God definitely does not exist, and I don't say that.
Right.
But I want to put the label atheist on myself because I believe strongly enough, or I feel strongly enough, that the lack of belief that I have comes from a place of intellectual honesty, and I want to champion that.
When I was a Christian, I kind of just assumed that most other people in my life were Christians, besides, unless it was obvious. If I didn't ask, that's what I assumed, and that was a sort of privilege now that it's hard to, kind of look back and see how easy it was for me to just say, like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, so the Christian thing, the Christian default is just going to apply.
I remember stumbling in and like just eating my lunch, and then suddenly you're in a conversation about what church you should go to, and then suddenly everyone turns to you. What church should you go? Where are you going to, and why?
Non-denominational, denomination.
Without it's that level of I don't know if entitlement is the right word, but just expectation that the rest of the world is Christian like you. They don't recognize that, like, you could be outing someone with what you think is this very innocuous question, but for the atheist, especially if you aren't out about it, that's one of those moments where it's like, do I say non-denominational? Do you say Buddhist? Do you say an atheistic religion?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're going to say atheistic religion? Yeah, try that at the lunch table.
Oh, boy.
Ben.
Right. Yeah, then you get a whole other argument.
How far that gets you. I don't know. Yeah, it's still tough. But, it's getting better. I still believe it's getting better for atheists, even though all the crazy shit that's happening in this country. The internet really has made people way more comfortable having conversations and people, you know, being out and about this stuff. And I don't know, this organization wouldn't exist unless we all thought the same thing about it. So,
and
you know,
and it's one of the reasons why we do what we do and have like the back cruise each year and stuff. Is that it's not, some people don't have the luxury that a lot of us have,
Right.
where they have a safe space they can come to. And a mysterious man who may or may not have asked a question earlier in this is also trying to champion having literal physical spaces for people to go to.
absolutely.
And I think it is quite important to find your tribe.
And that man, Albert Einstein. Just kidding. Superman. I don't know.